When an influencer makes it into mainstream news coverage, they've either done something really, really good or really, really bad. And unfortunately for KSI, he did something really, really bad in the most recent Sidemen video. So basically, they were playing this sort of game as kind of like a word challenge type thing. And for some reason, KSI just decided that it would be funny if he just dropped a slur as his answer in the middle of it. And then everyone laughed.
Look, we need points in it, all right? I don't mean this maliciously, but the word... I'm sorry. Look, we need points. I don't... Guys, come on.
So you can see that the tone in the room is not that, oh my god, he just said something funny. It's kind of just laughing and giggling it off as he uses a pretty foul word, especially for someone in the UK. Now, as an American, this word that they're using, they use the P word. It's kind of like an abbreviated term for a person from Pakistan. That's the best way I could describe it. And like I said, as an American, I've literally heard this word used on the news, like during the height of the Iraq War. But it holds some different weight in the UK. The P word, Pakistani racial slur. A common misconception is the P word is a shortened version of the word Pakistani, similar to the word Scot for Scottish people. The P word has a deeper, darker meaning. Violent attacks from 1960 through the 1990s against South Asians were also known as P word bashing. The attackers were supporters of the far-right fascist, racist, anti-immigrant movement, e.g. BNP and the National Front, supported by the British media's anti-immigrant and anti-Pakistani rhetoric, and by system failures of British authorities. These attackers were formerly known as P-word bashers and skinheads. During 1985 alone, there were around 20,000 racist attacks on British POC, mainly P-word bashing. Talking about going to the P-word shops or call others dirty P-words is a reminder of the suffering our parents and grandparents had to endure, the suffering that we still endure. So just going off of that kind of like summarization of the history of that word in the UK specifically, I'd say you could kind of put it on the same tier as like the N-word in the US. Just imagine if like a white influencer was like, well, we're playing a word game and so I need points, so N-word. Like obviously that wouldn't fly on anyone. And I really feel like that's the same kind of level that we're on here. So obviously a lot of people had takes about this, especially people from the South Asian community. Been a KSI fan for the longest, but it's so weird for him to say P-word in his latest Sidemen vid, even if they bleeped it and it was just in jest for content. Other racial slurs wouldn't be used as punchlines for YouTube game shows. Just makes light of the word plus certain people's experiences. Exactly. It is especially weird because that video is directly from the now deleted Sidemen video where they didn't have to leave that in. It wasn't like a live stream or anything. It made it past him saying it first in the room where clearly no one seemed to have a problem with it. Then editing, all these stuff, you watch the video back and at no point did anyone in the room be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't put this part of the video with a racial slur in it. I don't know. It just seems like an absurd thing to me. Like I edit my own videos. Sometimes there's like jokes that I say in the videos. It's like, that didn't really hit. Maybe not appropriate time for that. You know, I'll just cut it out. I don't understand why someone didn't do that for this. As big as a team they have, like something like this can't just slip through the cracks. The fact that Sidemen team didn't edit it out suggests they were fine with it, which is so mad to me. They didn't think to use the word for cheap laughs was an issue. That minimizes the topic's significance. Racial abuse towards Asian is taken less seriously more of the time. Yeah, pretty much that's exactly like the same point I had. It just seems like no one cared. Like you could see the reaction in the room was just mostly laughs, and then for no one over the many waves that a Sidemen video goes through to just not even think about, hey, maybe just take 30 seconds and be like, is this something that we should be putting in our videos? No, they just went on with it. I don't believe at KSI is a racist, but the fact that the clip was published in the first place and the way everyone in it was laughing it off is clearly highlights that unfortunately racism and racial slurs against South Asians are just not taken seriously. Yeah, we've seen this also here in the US. I know the US and UK are very similar, but also very different, as you can see in something like this. The like anti-Asian racism and Asian hate crimes are on a steady rise here, and I'm assuming the same would be in the UK, which I believe has an even bigger Asian and South Asian population than we do here. For one of the biggest influencers in the world, but for definitely the biggest in the UK, to just be so blatantly using slurs against a certain type of people like that, it's just, I don't know. It just seems like it's just an L. Like, it sucks, right? If you're a Pakistani kid who likes KSI, which I'm assuming there's plenty of them in his audience, then it sucks to see your favorite creator like using racial slurs like that. And to know the history of that word and how it was used in the UK specifically, it's just like not a cool thing to do. Now, KSI did apologize. I want to apologize for saying a racial slur in the recent Sidemen video. There's no excuse. No matter the circumstances, I shouldn't have said it, and I'm sorry. Honestly, this is where his apology should have ended, because going on, he says, I've always said to my audience that they shouldn't worship me or put me on a pedestal because I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm going to mess up, and lately I've been messing up a lot. So I've decided I'm going to take a break from social media for a while. This is just a little bit of deflection and trying to take some of the heat off him. He's like, oh, I'm only human, guys. I'm not perfect. You don't have to be perfect or like anything more than a human to know that using slurs is bad. I really don't understand how that's an excuse. It seems like he's trying to make an excuse for himself, or put it out there that like, I'm just another guy, you know. As we all know, just blurting out racial slurs to make the boys laugh is something we do. Like, no, that's not how that works. The Sidemen official account also put out a apology. During yesterday's Sidemen Sunday, a racial slur was used during the video. We accept that it was completely unacceptable and inexcusable. The fact that the incident was made light of on the show was wrong and compounded the hurt. We deeply regret this and would like to truly apologize. We've reflected on this incident both collectively and individually and are truly ashamed that we let ourselves and you guys down in this way. We want to use our channel to promote positivity and a great entertainment. We stand against racism and discrimination of any kind, and we failed to do that. Again, we are truly sorry and promise to do better. I think this was a better apology. Just apologize and not only say that you're going to do better from now on. The real apology comes in you actually doing better from here on out, which I do believe the Sidemen could do. I'm not the biggest fan of theirs, but I do find their stuff entertaining. They're funny, and I don't think they're racist, but this is just a bad look. Sometimes good people make mistakes too, and I think that is what's happening in this case, but I guess only time will tell. And then lastly, there's a pretty long video uploaded by someone named Smile to Jana. I don't know how much you guys know about him. He is a creator, kind of like a comedian news. I don't know. He does like a kind of thing. I've seen his feeds pop up on my timeline before, and he had a really good take on this.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. I'm sure you've seen the clip of KSI, the famous British YouTuber. Alongside the Sidemen, they were doing some sort of countdown in which KSI used the Paki word, which is a racial slur against South Asians. In fact, it's used against anyone of a brown color, and I'm seeing certain people in the comments saying, oh, I'm Asian, I'm Pakistani, and I don't see it as an offense. I don't see it as something bad. With all due respect, that's because you haven't had to live through that being sprayed at you, not even spoken and shouted at you, just sprayed at you in the way that it happened to our parents and our grandparents. They're the ones that get to decide, because they're the ones that actually paved the way for us to come here, not you sitting at home. Most of your time is probably spent in a digital realm anyway, with people that you can't even see. I mean, things are okay now. It may not be used in such a derogatory way now, but the way it's been racially charged and used as hatred, as our mothers, sisters and brothers and fathers were being bullied using this term. It be Indian, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Sikh, whether you're part of a culture or religion. If you're brown, even black people were kind of used, these terms were used against them. So rather than jumping up and being that self-loathing brown guy, oh, I'm okay with it. With all due respect, learn your history. Learn your history, and then you will not be making such mistakes.
Yeah, so you pretty much put it perfectly. I don't really have anything else to say. As someone who is black and Hispanic, one of my least favorite things that I see on the internet is the rush of people to be like, oh, well, I'm this and it didn't offend me. I'm black and this white guy saying the N-word didn't offend me. Or I'm Hispanic and, whatever, wetback doesn't offend me. Just whatever the terminology, is my least favorite thing, because these words are hateful and do have historical context for why they're hateful, such as this. Like the N-word, for example, obviously used a lot during slavery and the Jim Crow era, and that doesn't just go away. The same thing. We went through the history of why this word is so hurtful, and those things don't just go away just because time has passed. They still hold that connotation for a lot of people. Like a lot of people, if you have an older black person who grew up in the South, where the N-word wasn't just something that black people say to each other, but it was used as a way to degrade and dehumanize them in, that time. Like someone like my grandparents would still be alive to this day who lived in Alabama. So obviously the N-word is going to have a whole different level of connotation to them when someone who's not black, or even someone who is black, is using it. Honestly, my grandparents do not like the use of the N-word because, again, they grew up in Alabama in the 50s and 60s. So obviously when they hear someone saying that, it stings a little differently than someone like me, or, one of my friends or cousins or something hearing it being said. So I guess I would just say to be mindful, especially if you have a big platform, of the words you use, just because you don't see it as harmful or hateful, just because you don't think it's that big of a deal anymore, just because obviously things get better over time, right? Obviously we're not still living in 1950s Alabama, but racism still exists, and to just kind of throw around slurs like that, it can still be really harmful to people who are watching your content. So if I could tell KSI something, I guess it would be that just be more mindful of what you say, because it really can be harmful and hurtful to the people who are enjoying with your content. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that fun stuff. We hit 500 subs over the weekend, so that was pretty cool. I'm really having fun making these videos and getting to talk about topics that I find interesting and enjoy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, bye.